relations between us, the people who are the chosen of the Lord God. And so amongst us, we will not lend and borrow money and interest with each other. No. But then, these who do not qualify are not a part of the chosen people. لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ السَّبِيلُ. We have no moral obligation to the rest of mankind. And because this man was Gentile, he was not a Jew, and he gave you just 1 dinar, and he wants to get it back, you're not returning it to him. The moral obligation applies only here. It does not apply there. No, this is false. You are not the chosen people of the Lord God. Prophet Muhammad said, Allah's blessings be upon him. I hope all the people of Trinidad and Tobago are listening. He said, this is Prophet Muhammad, and they're waging war on him now, those barbarians. He said that all of mankind will appear before the Lord God on Judgment Day as equal in his sight as are the teeth of a comb. There is no superiority of one over the other, the white over the black, the yellow over the brown, or this over that. There is no superiority of one over another, unless it be on the basis of piety and righteousness and character and integrity. That is what makes you superior in the sight of the Lord God. So they say, لَيْسَ عَلَيْنَا فِي الْأُمِّيِّينَ السَّبِيلُ. We have no moral obligations to these Gentiles. وَيَقُولُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ. But they tell a lie against Allah. وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. And they knowingly tell a lie against the Lord God. So I took a little time with this verse of the Quran, because in this verse of the Quran you have a dinar. The previous one we had a dirham. This one we have a dinar. That one was a silver coin which was used for buying and selling. This one is a dinar or a gold coin. We also have a third term now, the kintar, which is a treasure of about 1,200 dinars or gold coins. And then there is yet another term in the Quran, and that is in Surah Al-Kahf. When, remember, this story is also in the Bible, that these young men were facing persecution because of their faith in the Lord God, and they live in a godless world, similar to the world in which we live today, where a godless world in which the Lord God can say that a girl at the age of 17 can get married, but these barbarians say, no, she has to be 18 before she can be married. So it was a godless world, and the young men stood up to proclaim the truth and defend the truth, as we're trying to do here in the world today. And the world responded by persecuting them and demonizing them and terrorizing them, so they had to flee. They had to flee, they had to make hijrah, as Abraham made hijrah out of Babylon, as Jesus had to leave Palestine, as Nabi Muhammad ﷺ had to leave Mecca. Yes, they made hijrah, they fled, and they found some refuge in a cave. And they fell asleep. Allah put them to sleep, and they slept for 300 years. Yes. And it's a wonderful story. If you read my book entitled Surah Al-Kahf in the Modern Age, in that book I have explained this part of the Quran in some detail. You find it fascinating if you read that story. So after 300 years, Allah woke them up. And if you've been sleeping for 300 years and you wake up, you're going to be very hungry, won't you? Huh? So they said, let us send one of the group to go and buy some food. And they said to him, فَبَعَثُوا أَحَدَكُمْ بِوَرِكِكُمْ هَذِهِ إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَيُّهَا أَذْكَى طَعَامٍ. Let us send one of us with this money that's called warik to the Medina. Medina here is city. Medina here is city. To the Medina, to the city. And let him go and search for that food which is purest, because when the world becomes godless as it is today, food is going to be corrupted. Food is going to be corrupted. So already being corrupted with your genetically modified food and so on, with your hormone injections in the animals, and you give your children to drink that milk, and your baby boys are becoming feminine in nature, and your baby girls are growing up as tomboys. Yes, that's what's happening already. And you'd want to therefore try to seek refuge in the remote countryside and grow your own food. Don't depend on the supermarket. And eat that food which is purest. So they said, go and buy that food which is purest. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَيُّهَا أَزْكَى طَعَامٍ. The purest food, that is what we should be doing today. So in this verse of Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran, they sent him with warik. Warik, of course, has to be money, because they have to use it to buy the food. But what kind of money is this warik? Answer: these are young men who have faith in the Lord God, and they know that even though 300 years have passed, this money can still buy the food after 300 years. When I was 5 years of age, I'm now 75. When I was 5 years of age in 1947, my father bought a motor car, a Hillman Minx, and to take me to school. We were living in St. Thomas Village, Chaguanas, and he was the principal or headmaster at Mount Pleasant Government School in Sumsum Hill. So he would drive me to school at the age of 5. But also on Saturday, Yom Sabt, you had the market, the Chaguanas market. And he would take me to the market with him. And I have the basket in my hand. And at the age of 5, I saw my father buying in the Chaguanas market 100 oranges for $1. 100 oranges for $1. I saw it with these eyes. And in those days, you had sugar bag. It was a jute bag. Now everything is plastic. So they put the 100 oranges, and they're very sweet. And we have oranges to suck for the whole week. 100 oranges for $1. If I had saved that $1 for these 70 years, today, with that $1, I cannot buy even one orange. Not even one. And so now from the 4th verse of the Quran, the first one was the dirham, the second one was the dinar, the third was the kintar, and now the 4th one is the warik. We know that money in the Quran is money which can preserve its value, can store value over a long period of time. That money which they have given us as a substitute is gone, it's finished, it doesn't store any value. I was in Caracas. I flew from Port of Spain to Caracas, and I wanted to buy a coffee. And I didn't have any Venezuelan bolivars. So I wanted to change some US dollars, because if I take Trinidad and Tobago dollars, you can't use it, or you have to use the slave master's money. So I wanted to change some dollars, but I only had a $100 US note. What to do? So I asked one of the airline people with whom I had flown, and he said, no, don't change it. I'll change it for you. If you go to them, you won't get the correct rate. And he took the $100 from me, one note, and he came back after 15 minutes with a pile of money this big, yeah, this high in money, Venezuelan paper money. Oh, what is happening with that paper money is that it's constantly falling in value, constantly falling in value. So that after 70 years, you can't use that money to buy any food anymore. You might only be able to buy a breadcrumb. But they had money in the Quran, in Surah Al-Kahf, which after so many years, 300 years, it could still be used as money. Yes. I think there is one more I could make mention of in the Quran pertaining to money. It's also in Surah Al-Kahf that there was this this man who was a mystical figure. Someone said to me, he looks like Jesus, but he's known as Khidr. And Khidr means green, so when I teach the subject to children, I call it Mr. Green. But he is someone who is not a graduate of a university. Now, he gets knowledge directly from Allah. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. He gets knowledge directly from Allah. And in addition to that, وَعَتَيْنَاهُ مِن رَحْمَةٍ sorry, I've forgotten the ayah. And Allah gave him rahmah. He's a man of kindness. So knowledge and kindness stay together. Knowledge and kindness. And Musa alayhi salam, the prophet Moses, who said, I am the most learned of all men. And then Allah said, no, you're not. There's someone more learned than you. He said, I want to meet him. And he met with him, and he asked for permission to travel with him. And 3 incidents occurred. The first one was a boat, which had to be scuttled. And the second one was a boy who was killed. Please read Surah Al-Kahf for this lovely story. And then the fourth one was a town which would not offer any hospitality to travelers. This is an essential part of the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And that's the only religion accepted by the Lord God. The religion of Abraham is the only religion accepted by the Lord God. And this is why I was told maybe some of the Hindus felt that Brahma comes from the word Abraham. So in the religion of Abraham, hospitality is an essential part of the religion. Even if you are poor, your door is always open, you always offer. Even if it's only a roti, you break it in half and you share it with someone. I was, let me tell you this story before I pursue. I was sitting in Masjid al-Hosein in Cairo as a student, 1963. And you know, the head of Nabi, the grandson of the Prophet, is buried there. And I was seeing people coming and touching the grill, and others were sitting there reciting the Quran. And this young Trinidadian, 21 years of age from Chaguanas, is sitting there watching this spectacle. But there's an old man sitting next to me dressed in rags. And he's not talking and I'm not talking, and we sat there for about 1 hour. And after 1 hour, I noticed a movement on my side, and I looked from the side of my eyes, what's going on there? And he put his hand into a brown paper bag and took out with Egyptian khubz, a round bread, and they have beans inside of it, staple Egyptian food. And I saw this old man with his hand shaking, breaking the bread. And then for the first time, he turned to me. He doesn't know whether I'm white or black or brown or yellow. We have not talked to each other. We've not looked at each other. And he offered me half of his bread, and I started to cry. I started to cry because this man had nothing, and he was sharing half. And there's those who have so much, and they'll only give breadcrumbs. So hospitality is part of the religious way of life. And this town was not hospitable. No. So Khidr and Musa alayhi salam, Moses. And then Moses saw him doing something strange. There was a wall and the wall was collapsing, it was crumbling. And he took out money from his own pocket and he paid for the wall to be rebuilt. So Moses is asking, why? You should at least seek a refund on the money you spent. Then he had to explain what Moses could not understand. That there was in this town a righteous person who was believer in one God, and he was dying and leaving behind orphan children. And he couldn't find one honest person with whom he could entrust his wealth. And when my children grow up, give it to them. Yesterday, we had people like that in the world. All around us, we had honest people. Today, it's different, yes. Today is different. There's corruption everywhere. The world is collapsing. So he said this man dug a hole and buried his money and then built a wall on top of it to preserve it. So if you have money today, if you have gold and silver coins and the government decides to make it illegal to keep gold and silver, that's what they're going to do tomorrow, yes, the wicked people. What do? You dig a hole and bury the money. And then you build a structure upon it, so when they come with their machines to search for it, they can't find it. They can't find it. So he built the wall on top of it. And because this wall was crumbling, that is why Khidr alayhi salam rebuilt the wall to protect the money. Now then, I ask you, can you bury electronic money? Money you can't see, money you can't touch? No? Can you bury paper money? No. If you bury the paper money, and with the $1 you could buy 100 oranges, when you take it out 70 years later with $1, you cannot even buy one orange. I have now completed this survey of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and the verses of the Quran pertaining to money. I have already completed in previous lectures, so many of them, what is the monetary system in the world today, because I studied international monetary economics both at the Institute of International Relations of the University of the West Indies, as well as at the Graduate Institute of International Studies in Geneva. And there in Geneva, my teachers were so, my Professor Curzon, who taught me international economics, was so uncomfortable with me because I was challenging him every day in the classroom because I could understand that this is bogus. This monetary system is bogus. This is 1974, 75, yes. So Professor Curzon called me one day and he said, Mr. Hosein, you know, you don't have to attend my class. Yes, you don't have to attend my class. Just write the exam at the end of the year, meaning I don't want you in my class anymore. This monetary system is bogus. And I have already explained it in several lectures. And now they've moved from the Bretton Woods monetary system, which collapsed in 1971, and then was succeeded in 1974 with the petrodollar monetary system. And I've already explained to you that the petrodollar monetary system was prophesied by Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in a hadith. I will repeat the hadith shortly. And then the petrodollar monetary system is now under attack. China is attacking it. Oh yes. And Russia is attacking it. Not only with BRICS, but the Chinese are now offering the oil-producing countries that we will buy your oil from you and pay for it with the Chinese currency. I think it's called the yuan or something like that. I don't know the correct pronunciation. And the yuan will be redeemable in gold. So for the first time since 1945, when gold was banned by the IMF. For the first time, gold is returning now to the money, to the world. The Chinese are doing it. That the Chinese currency that we give to you when we buy your oil from you, you can redeem it for gold. We will change it to you for gold. And then we'll buy that gold from the market. We're not going to give you the gold from what we have stored in China. But the Chinese are very, very, very intelligent. There are millions of coin machines in China. And the Chinese can go to a coin machine and put in their Chinese currency and get a gold coin. Yes. Millions of millions of such machines all over China. If Pakistan were to do that, they'll probably invade Pakistan. The Marines will land in Pakistan if Pakistan were to try to do what the Chinese are doing. They can't do that with China. And so now, the petrodollar monetary system is under challenge. The Chinese are challenging it. The Russians are challenging it. India is challenging it. Iran is challenging it. And the US dollar is going to be once more in no man's land. It cannot survive. It cannot survive, no. We've already explained this in several lectures that we have delivered so far. And now it's time for us to go back to the Quran and go back to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to learn what is money in Islam, to make tawbah for what we did in the past, and try to return to that money which is halal, which is kosher, which is permissible by Allah, and turn away from that money which is haram. Now before we end, let me go back just one more time, if you don't mind, to that hadith of the Prophet. Allah's blessing be upon him. If you're Christians and you're listening, you'll be interested in it. If you're a Jew, if you're a Hindu, you're a Buddhist, you'll be fascinated. Listen to what Nabi Muhammad ﷺ said. Prophet Muhammad said that the river Euphrates, which is in Iraq, the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. People will fight for that gold. And 99 out of every 100 who fight for that gold will be killed. But each will say, I will be the one who will survive. But the believers in the one God must not touch that gold. There is a Protestant version of Islam which declares that we must, since there is no interpretation of the hadith by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ or by the early Muslims, the Aslaf. Aslaf is the plural of Salaf. Since they did not interpret it, no one is authorized to interpret it. And so these people with this Protestant version of Islam are waiting for a mountain of the metal to come out from underneath the river. If I'm wrong, kindly correct me, if you are Salafi. I'm not waging war on the Salafi. I don't have any boxing gloves. Many Salafis are my students now. I'm talking about your methodology, which is defective. You're waiting for a mountain of the metal to come out from underneath the river. So I say, okay, keep on waiting. But we're not waiting. We say that this prophecy was fulfilled in 1974. When Henry Kissinger went to Riyadh, I've explained this in previous lectures, and fooled King Faisal and got him to agree, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, got him to agree in the biggest mistake of all history. Faisal agreed to the request of Kissinger that oil is to be sold for only US dollars. If you want to buy oil, you cannot buy it with euros, you cannot buy it with French francs, you cannot buy it with German marks, you can't buy it with Pakistani rupees, you can't buy it with Trinidad and Tobago dollars. No. You cannot even buy gold, buy oil with gold, with dinar and dirham. And Faisal was very, 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 very foolish. May Allah forgive him for accepting that request of Kissinger. When he agreed to sell oil for only US dollars, and he got the other oil-producing countries to agree, and then OPEC came along and they agreed to it. So now the petrodollar was born. The US dollar is no longer backed by gold. No, the US dollar is now backed by oil, because oil is the largest commodity traded in the world market. So once there is a demand for US dollars, the US dollar is strong, flying high. This is the birth of the petrodollar monetary system, in which an ocean of oil underneath the river began to function as a mountain of gold. And the prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ was fulfilled. But he said that they're going to fight for that mountain of gold, and that is what's coming up. Because the United States knows that it's now, that's it. The time has come to an end now. The US dollar cannot survive. So what they're going to do, they're trying to provoke a war, a world war, a nuclear war, so that in that nuclear war, they'll be able to manage the collapse of the US dollar without massive anarchy in the United States. Under the cover of nuclear war, the US dollar will disappear. This is the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. 99 out of every 100 will be killed. It cannot therefore be conventional war. It has to be nuclear war, or war with weapons of mass destruction. But he said that the believers must not touch that goal, meaning we must not be a part of that monetary system, the petrodollar monetary system, and the electronic or digital monetary system which is now going to replace it. I have to end now. If you are a Muslim, if you're a Jew, if you're a Hindu, if you're a Buddhist, no matter who you are, even if you have no religion, but you have integrity inside of you, I ask you kindly to think before it's too late. Because when it's too late and we've not done anything to respond to this challenge, in our graves we'll pay the price for it. And on Judgment Day, we'll pay the price for it. What should we do? We're organizing a session here in Trinidad sometime within the next 2 months, a private session, not public, where we'll be able to put our heads together, and I'll benefit from the views of businessmen because they know business better than me. If you want to join us in that session, even if you're from outside of Trinidad, just send me an email, inhosein@hotmail.com. We put it at the bottom of the screen. Or you could send an email to IBN here, or you can call on the phone to IBN. The numbers will be at the bottom of the screen. And give us your name and give us your contact information. And then we will invite you. We'll let you know what day, and we'll let you know where the location will be. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.